Bastrop, Texas is well known for its rich history, natural beauty, and an authentic vibe that you just can't find anywhere else. The city of Bastrop is proud to bring you Overheard at City Hall, a podcast aimed at bringing you, our community, inside the walls of City Hall to get to know the hardworking men and women of the city of Bastrop who wake up every day to serve you, our citizens. Join us as we discuss the many topics that on any given day may be overheard at City Hall.
Hey Bastrop, I'm Bastrop City Manager Paul Hoffman, and welcome to Overheard at City Hall. This is episode number 2. Those of you who saw episode number 1, thank you so much for the positive feedback, and we're going to try to keep the momentum going. Visiting with me this afternoon is Bastrop Police Chief Clint Nagy. Hey Chief, how are you?
I'm doing great, sir. Thank you.
So a lot of people know who you are and what you're all about, but some people don't, and we're broadcasting to a vast audience out there. So tell us a little bit about you, where you come from, and just a bit about your professional experience.
Yeah. So I'm almost originally from Bastrop. My parents had moved down here in the late 70s when they opened the correctional institution on Highway 95, so I followed them along from Washington State. And I've been here basically for almost 40 years now. Mm-hmm. Graduated from Bastrop High School. Only left to attend school in San Marcos or Texas State, actually Southwest Texas State.
That's how we remember it.
That's right.
Kind of a party school, isn't it, Chief?
That's right, but not everybody partied. Of course, I did not. I had great grades and perfect attendance.
Yeah.
It's
a great school.
Yes, it's great. And then after that, I started work for the city of Bastrop as an officer. Worked my way through the ranks, and here I am, Chief of Police.
Well, we're glad you're here. It's been a real pleasure getting to know you and your team, and really impressed with the sincere effort you put into making sure you're connected with the community. Can you talk a little bit about some of the strategies you employ to make sure you know what the community is all about? Absolutely.
One of the first things is I really rely on my officers. And everybody's heard of what a community resource officer is. Well, I consider myself that every patrol officer sworn is a community resource officer. So they're expected to go out and engage the community the same way my dedicated community resource officers would do. And then also, we really want to try and get to yes on a lot of problems that people might have. We might have to tell them no at a certain time, but really try and get them to that yes point, because that's really good. It helps them kind of through the process of what they're going through, and then it also really helps them have a truer understanding of how we're trying to police.
Oh, that's really cool. As city manager, and I've been city manager a few places, when people talk to me about policing, a common phrase that's heard is this whole notion of community policing. And the question is, do you employ community policing techniques? And it's almost like when people talk about it, they're describing something that's new and innovative. For those of us who have been around for a while, community policing's been out there for 40 years.
Absolutely, yes.
And so is there a particular and unique approach here in Bastrop toward community policing?
I think it's unique because we really try and fit the community that we police.
Right.
Every community, while they have some problems that might be the same, Bastrop has some that might be just unique.
Right.
And because we're just small enough, we can really engage in that. Everywhere from some of our programs from the Junior Police Academy, and that's something like that our community resource officer is a part of, but then we use our other officers to supplement and teach. And then we also have some other programs that are really great from our COP program, which is where we have adults that really want to engage the police and the community. They can learn how to be a police officer or what we do throughout a day-to-day basis, and then also help us out in the field as well.
Oh, that's all really interesting. So you describe the community as being a small community, and that strikes a chord with me, because a real priority of this city council is to fully recognize that the community is going to grow. There's
Absolutely,
nothing we can do about that other than try to manage it well. But a big priority for them is that we maintain that small town feel, if you will, that there are certain attributes about Bastrop that we want to retain
Sure.
as we grow. So making those connections in that way is really, really important.
Yes, absolutely.
So is there a particular set of characteristics you're looking for when you're recruiting for vacant patrol officer positions? What are you trying to bring into the organization?
Absolutely. So just like the Bastrop community is unique, our police department is unique as well.
Right.
And I have a certain goal and a certain message throughout the police department. And we want to make sure we get the right people in the right places. And that starts everywhere from the recruit all the way up to even my position, for instance. I mean, It's really important to kind of fit that puzzle piece together. So we're looking for someone that is really well-rounded, that is willing to engage the community and do so with a lot of heart and really want to make a difference. I mean, and that's really the most important thing, is they want to make a difference. And if they're that, they're a good applicant for my agency.
Yeah. When you say all that, a word that comes to my mind is trust. When I was city manager in the city in the Hill Country a few years ago, and the police chief there, who's now retired, you would really like him. His name is John Young, and a phrase he would use all the time is all of our authority comes from the public
Absolutely.
trust, and
Yeah.
it really does come to that, and I don't believe that's ever been more important than right now. And we're Bastrop. We're a small city. We are growing. We have a lot of new residents moving in, which is all good and healthy and positive. But that does bring a set of challenges,
Sure.
doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. And we want to continue to not just engage those persons we're familiar with that might have been here for a while, but also the persons that are just moving into our neighborhood.
Right.
And a good example is almost at any time a person can walk in and ask to speak to the assistant chief or myself, and really not even have to get an appointment. I mean, if I'm busy, I might say, hey, we need to do this sometime later. But I'll go ahead. If I can push off one of my own appointments, we'll go ahead and talk to them. And so they have a face-to-face, voice-to-voice with the leadership of the agency. And I found that has been really successful.
Yeah, well, and I think that's pretty special. You and I talk about just how blessed we are that we have a good, healthy relationship with the community here, and it's not like that in every community. But the folks in Bastrop sincerely, overtly appreciate you guys. I think there is a sense of trust there and respect. But of course, that's a little fragile, right? And
Yes, it is.
The world is changing around us. We're not oblivious to what is going on and what some of those national discussions are about police and policing. And we can't take for granted this relationship. So what do you do about that? And are there particular things you do to train your officers on how to react to situations that really could blow up on us? Sure.
And I think the most important one we're really trying to teach is really just be patient. And if somebody oftentimes is we're not just on the same page and maybe a critical scene or something like that, it's not personal. And try to get the officers not to take that personal. Or if they're watching the news, or if they're on Facebook or something, and somebody says something negative about the police, even if it's national or maybe even directed towards us, don't take it personal. It's okay, and we'll move by that and through that, and we'll really try and let these officers know that they really are valued and they really are important.
Right.
Because officers, I think I've talked about, they really do want to serve. Yeah. And they can go serve in different capacities if policing just isn't right for them. And sometimes moments like this in policing can cause them to double guess. But then that's where I rely on my informal leaders of the department. So maybe they don't have rank, but those informal leaders are almost more influential than myself or the assistant chief or some of the sergeants, because it's more peer-to-peer. And it's really important for those informal leaders to let those officers know that they are supported, that their administration supports them, that their city supports them, and the vast majority of the public supports them as well.
Yeah. Now, I think you exhibit a whole lot of insight when you talk about how you approach all that. And in fact, several months ago, I read an article you wrote, an academic piece, that is all about recruitment of
Yes.
patrol officers and recruiting them, training them, retaining them. It's all very different from, I don't know, when I started in this business 30 years ago. And so, it's not like you're just making this stuff up.
That's
and
right.
And a lot of it's instinctive, but there's a lot of academic research that
Yes.
supports all of this thinking as well, which I really appreciate. So how is recruitment of new officers going?
Recruitment's a little tough right now.
Right.
And some of that is just with the what is going on nationally.
Right.
And then some of it might just be generational. And so, but that's okay. So we just got to work around it. It's not going to work around us. So we've got to develop ways to work around that. And we've really hired some amazing officers over the past 6 months where that process has really worked out really well. It's a little slow, but I also want to make sure, just like I said before, we get the right officers in those right positions. And I would rather wait. And my officers would rather wait as well, because they don't want to work with someone that's not a good fit.
So there you go with that patient theme.
Yes.
Again. Patience works in a situation where de-escalation is important. And
Absolutely, yeah.
patience is a virtue, as they
Yes.
say. So
Yeah.
I appreciate that. So tell me a little bit about your command staff and who they are. Start with Chief Stefanik,
Yeah.
your assistant chief, and a little bit about her and her background and what you have her do.
Yeah. So Chief Stefanik, she was originally with the Austin Police Department and then
Right.
came to our agency just about 13 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
She started out as an officer and then went to the Criminal Investigations Division and then was eventually the supervisor over them.
Mm-hmm.
And she is a machine. She is an incredible worker, and I mean, it is
Yeah.
beeline somewhere, so I really appreciate that. And then also, she's just got a really soft side as well.
Yeah.
And so she gets along great with the officers, and she's really starting to support them as well, and really kind of we work as a team and getting that done.
You guys really do operate very well as a team, and of course I've seen you out in the community responding to questions, and Chief Stefanik, not always a lot of words that come out
Yes.
of her, but it's always really direct and just comes off as being knowledgeable and sincere. I was chatting with her just a few hours ago. She said that you were really nervous about this podcast.
Just a little bit nervous. So now I got to go back and say, really?
Yeah,
Chief?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Well, it's not all she said. So, right.
Okay.
So who's the rest of your command staff?
So then I've got 5 sergeants.
Right.
So the most senior sergeant is Sergeant Dale Hamilton.
Right.
And then the administrative or / criminal investigation is Sergeant McManus.
Mm-hmm.
And then the other patrol sergeants are Sergeant Charles Sanford. And then I've got 2 more. I'm almost for Dale Hamilton, Sergeant Sanford.
See, none of this is scripted.
Yeah,
We're
that's
proving
right.
that.
So don't show this. I forgot my own guys, their names. So there's 5, and they're really great.
No, we're not editing
Yeah,
this. at
Sergeant Chavez and somebody else. I can't. It's Sergeant Hamrick. There we go. That's all.
There
of
you
them.
go.
Yes,
All
they're all
right.
really good.
all. We love Sergeant Hamrick, too.
And they've all really been versed as well. So, of course, they started out patrol. Some of them started out as school resource officers before BISD came along, and then criminal
Okay.
investigations, and then they moved up to sergeant as well. And our
Okay.
most recent is Sergeant Sanford.
Yeah, he was a recent promotion.
Yeah. Mhm.
That's right. All right. So what do you like to do when you're not working?
I really enjoy triathlons.
Wow.
So I like to go for the Ironman. So those are a lot of fun.
Uh-huh.
I completed one at the end of 2018. I've got 3 this year because they've been canceled and backed up.
Right.
So I'm going to do 3 at the end of November, so that'll be interesting.
So that's how long a run?
It's a 2.6-mile swim, 112 bike ride, and then a 26-mile run.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah, so
all right. That's pretty impressive.
I actually don't
Chief.
really enjoy doing them. I'm just obsessive compulsive, so I have to do something.
Well, that's good for
Yeah.
you. That requires a lot of discipline. I can't imagine. I don't know how you have the time to train.
Yeah, it's tough.
So tell us a little bit about your family.
Yeah, so I have a wife of just about 19 years.
Right.
And I thought it was 20 last. Maybe it was 20. I don't remember. Somewhere around there.
Okay. So the sergeant shouldn't feel so bad that you
that's
forgot
right.
their
Yes.
name.
And then we were refinancing our house yesterday, and I forgot because you have to write what day you were married. I forgot that. And the person that was helping us resign didn't. She's like, really? How would you forget that? I'm like, other people forget this too.
Yeah. Right. There are thousands of people watching this podcast who are commiserating with you. At least the guys are.
That's right. Yes. Yeah. And then I just gained quite a bit of support.
Right.
Then
I think you did.
I have 2 daughters. One is just turned 21, and hopefully she's going to finish school. She needs to hurry up. And then one is 16, and she goes to Cedar Creek High School.
Yeah. That's all very cool. Well, Chief, it's a real pleasure working with you. I have been around a little bit. Something I talk about to colleagues of mine in the city management profession and young people will occasionally come to me and say, hey, I'm interested in city management and tell me a little bit about it. And when I have those opportunities, which do come up from time to time, I do talk about that city manager and police chief relationship because it's different.
Sure.
The kind of working relationship I have with the police chief, any city manager has with the police chief, is not the same as a city manager and public works director or library director kind of relationship. You have roles and responsibilities and even authorities that I don't have.
Sure.
Right? And I don't know everything that goes on in the police department. I shouldn't know everything that goes on in the police department. And so this whole trust thing that we talked about before that is so critically important between the police department and the community, there needs to be a trust relationship between the city manager and the police chief. And I really do appreciate just how transparent you are and you come about that naturally. You keep me informed of stuff I need to keep informed about. You allow me to keep the city council informed about stuff that's going on. And that's not just you. I mean, I get that impression from your entire team.
Absolutely,
and that's not all that common, actually. And so when it's there, it's really special.
Yeah.
And I do like talking about that because I think we are very fortunate here in Bastrop to be protected by men and women who are in it for the right reasons.
Yeah, absolutely.
So,
yeah. Well said.
Yeah, well, thank you. And again, Chief, thank you for spending the time here this afternoon.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.
You bet.